I saw wrestling. Let's get into that. Alright, I went to a house show on Sunday, and it was one of the greatest nights of my life. But I want to end on that note. So we're going to start off. Just saw this week's episode of Impact. I want to start on a low note and build high. I want to talk about Aron Rex's new gimmick, where it was described in spoilers more accurately than I had hoped as Liberace esque. He came out wearing a white fur jacket over a nude colored pair of wrestling tights. This is not good. He spoke with an accent that was very much like Liberace. I think the only way he could have gotten it worse would be if he would have gone with a lisp. He had makeup, including lipstick on. It was bad. Apparently, this is like his throwback to Adrian Adonis. And if you did not watch Adrian Adonis in the early 80s when he was adorable Adrian Adonis, it was very much a relic of the time. Maybe think mid 90s Gold Dust when he first appeared. This is the kind of gimmick that this is. This is preying on people's homophobia to gin up heel heat. This is making him the bad guy because he's gay, and I don't like that. Now, they can save this if he is doing this deliberately to drive a wedge, and he's not the bad guy because he's acting effeminately, but he's the bad guy because he's going out of his way to act effeminately to drive the wedge. If this is a meta gimmick, which I'm not holding out hope for, but if they go that way, I will withdraw my criticism. But if it is, as presented, just him acting effeminate and flamboyant to get people to hate him because he is effeminate, no, I'm out. I'm close to not watching. This was supposed to be a big rebranding show. They just changed over to the new Impact logo. Last week they had their semi-live show, but they're doing tapings now. It's a big deal. It's all this big Anthem is in charge. Let's recharge. There was some good stuff on the show. EC3 tends to kind of show his emotions on his sleeve, so you could tell that he was really into it right now. We're getting a match between Rosemary and Jade in Monsters Ball. The brawl they had tonight to set it up, not that great, but I'm looking forward to their match. And Tyrus is now teaming up with Eli Drake. Not a fan of what Tyrus has been doing in his outside work, but I'm going to try and keep that separate. I'm going to try not to hold that against him. I like him as a wrestler. I like Eli Drake. They make a good team. I did a wrestle bit about it. But try and toss up a card so you can see what I'm talking about. But anyway, I just want to go on record as not being a fan of that Aron Rex gimmick change. Okay, so Raw. This week we had a new Royal Rumble entrant, big name. We'll get to that. But we also have a new United States champion. And it is either Chris Jericho or Chris Jericho and Kevin Owens. Not quite clear on that. Sometimes WWE is saying, well, Chris Jericho is the United States champion. This makes him a Grand Slam champion. One of only a handful to do it. And sometimes they're saying it's both Chris Jericho and Kevin Owens co-holding. So we might not know until Monday what's going on with that. Smackdown. I want to make a complaint. Smackdown, I watched at the bar that I go to a lot. I filmed a lot of the Championship Beer episodes there. It's that bar. I use an app called Tunity. I bring the phone and I bring my headphones, and it's great when it works, because you can go to a bar, a gym, an airport, and they all have their TVs on mute. A sports bar will sometimes play one audio, and sometimes you can ask for the speaker box, but at this bar it doesn't work very well. Well, Tunity will let you scan the TV, and if it's one of the channels they support, which is almost any sports channel, almost any news channel, and a few other channels, including USA, it'll play you the audio. Well, usually it'll play you the audio. Tuesday, it played the Spanish language audio. Complain on Twitter. Oh, we'll fix it. They fix it. 5 minutes later, goes back to Spanish. I start tweeting, hey, it's back to Spanish. No replies. Because apparently, when they think they fixed the problem, they don't look at the tweets anymore. So I go on another account and complain. They fix it. Then it goes back to Spanish. So I complain back on the original account. No response. So it ends the show in Spanish. I had to go back and watch later to find out what the hell anybody said. Anyway, we had the American Alpha versus Wyatt family rematch. Well, can't really call it a rematch because the first match was a 4-way match. But this was the Wyatts' chance to get back their belts. It was the original team that won them with Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton instead of having Luke Harper go in there to take Bray Wyatt's place. Thought they were going to win him back. I thought it was going to be a very short tenure for American Alpha. Fortunately, I was wrong. They won, and they're really going hard on this Wyatt family implosion, because after the match, Luke Harper tried to hit Randy Orton, accidentally hit Bray Wyatt. This thing is going to blow up at the Royal Rumble. I'm really looking forward to where this is going to go. We also got word that next week there's going to be a steel cage match for the Women's Championship. That should be amazing. We're going to see La Luchadora. I know that's the whole point of the steel cage, is to keep her out. I don't care. We're going to see La Luchadora. That's how it works. But it's still going to be a good match. I mean, these are two great women wrestlers. They've been putting on some really good matches so far, and I can't wait to see what they do in the steel cage. And then in the main event, we saw John Cena beat Baron Corbin. Baron Corbin looked good, but he lost clean. He ain't ready for the main event, apparently, which is weird because I thought that they were getting him ready to go there. Apparently not, because he's not good enough to beat Cena, and this is the time when Cena is most vulnerable. So, oh well. I didn't think he was going to win clean, but I thought maybe he'd get a dirty win. No such luck. Back to Raw, we found out a big name is going into the Royal Rumble, The Undertaker. Don't really know why he announced on Raw kayfabe-wise, because apparently he is a Smackdown superstar, but the reason was he was in New Orleans to do the announcement for WrestleMania the next day. They didn't bother to explain that that's why he was in town, but it is, because logically he should have made that announcement on SmackDown. But we now have a handful of entrants announced, confirmed for the Royal Rumble. We've got Goldberg, Brock Lesnar, all three members of the New Day. We've got Braun Strowman, Baron Corbin, Seth Rollins, Chris Jericho, Undertaker, The Miz, Dolph Ziggler, and Dean Ambrose, counting the three that we found out after Raw. So that is almost as many as I had hoped we'd have at this point. I was hoping we'd have 15 to 18. We're not going to get everybody announced. Obviously, we won't even have them going into the Rumble because they're always going to hold off 3 or 4 surprises. But the other 26, 27, we probably won't know all of them until going into that weekend. We've only got 2 people on that list who have never been in a Royal Rumble before. Baron Corbin, because he just made it to the main roster at WrestleMania last year, and Xavier Woods, who has not been in despite being part of the New Day for a couple years now. Kofi Kingston has been in 8 consecutive Royal Rumbles. Now, he didn't start out doing those big Royal Rumble spots, but he's been doing them for the past few years. Really looking forward to seeing what he's going to be doing. The only people that have been in more are Chris Jericho and The Miz and The Undertaker. Jericho and Miz have 9, and The Undertaker has 10 Royal Rumbles to his name. So we've got a lot of experience going into the Rumble. I'm excited. I always love the Rumble. It's always a great show. It gonna be good. NXT was an especially good episode this week. There was a rematch from the Japan show between Andrade Cien Almas and Oni Lorcan. And it was really good. The Japanese match, I wasn't that impressed. But this match was really good. Oni Lorcan was Biff Busick on the Indies. You're going to know that name a lot better because NXT really hasn't done much with Oni Lorcan. You know, they don't give him a whole lot of promo time. They give him 1 or 2 wins here and there, but he's never been in any kind of substantial feud. He's just put out there, and it's weird. But he's a really good wrestler. He just has this I'm going to hurt you strategy, and it looks well. And it worked so well against Almas, who finally made me see what everybody was going crazy for when they were talking about La Sombra coming to WWE and why they were so excited. You could see that this was the guy that everybody said was, the greatest heel in Mexico or whatever. This is the guy that ran Los Ingobernables back when Naito was down in Mexico doing his little pilgrimage to North America. This is where the Tranquilo stuff came from, was Andrade Cien Almas. So this match, go and watch it. If you're watching me, you probably have the WWE Network. Check out this week's episode. That was great. And we got the rematch DIY Revival. It's not going to go down as the classic that the others did, but any Revival match you can watch, especially any Revival match against DIY, you have to watch it. It's so much better than almost any other match you can think of because they're just so damn good. The Revival is the greatest tag team today. I will die on this hill. And they make their best matches out of all their amazing matches with DIY. We've got the big UK tournament coming up this weekend. I'm going to toss the brackets up. Got a few recognizable names just to the more casual fan. You got guys like Tyler Bate, Tucker, Jordan Devlin, Danny Burch, Trent Seven, H.C. Dyer, Wolfgang, Tyson T-Bone, Mark Andrews, Dan Maloney, James Drake, Joseph Connors, Pete Dunne, Roy Johnson, Saxon Huxley, and Sam Gradwell. Most of those names are not that well known, but you've got a few guys like Mark Andrews, who was a big part of TNA until very recently. You got Joseph Connors, who was the champion of WCPW until recently. And you got Pete Dunne, who a lot of people are going to know as the Bruiserweight. He's been working America a lot lately. He was at BOLA 2016. He was rumored to be part of the Cruiserweight tournament. I don't know why he didn't make it, but maybe because they were holding off for this. Trent Simmons and Tyler Bate are names that a lot of people are going to know. I'm not quite as familiar with the rest of these guys, but I'm damn sure interested to see how this is going. They're being very open from the front that this is for a title belt, whereas the Cruiserweight tournament, it was always supposed to be about the trophy, and then the belt came at the very end. This, they're being very open. It's about a belt. So I'm very curious how long it's going to take for them to actually start that weekly UK show that they talked about at the original press conference. That's going to be interesting. And I'm really curious if it's going to come with some sort of Performance Center UK. I don't know if it's going to be an actual Performance Center, literal Performance Center, or if they are working out a deal with a British company to be a territory up there, a developmental territory like they used to do with FCW, OVW, HWA, all those things in America. But I think there are very good odds that we are going to start to see a British developmental system for the WWE very soon, and that is going to be the anchor to their weekly show. And then eventually people will graduate from that show onto the main roster the way they do from NXT. I really think that the British show is going to be a British NXT, one way or another. Now, I want to talk about the show I got to see on Sunday. WWE was in Mobile, which is not far from where I'm at. Uh, I have a couple friends, one of whom is related to Charlotte, and she was able to get us tickets. I don't talk about that a whole lot because I don't want to feel. I don't want to give the impression that that's like I pressure or I twist elbows or anything. They're good friends, and they got tickets last year to go see when we were in Mobile. We sat fifth row. It was great. It was a great show. This time we got second row on the same side. If you ever notice, whenever they have people on there like family members, or if they're people, wrestlers that got kicked out and bought a ticket, they're always on the side that the camera's on. And that's because those seats usually aren't being sold. They're being held for comp tickets. And the reason they do that is so that you're not distracted by these people. If you see John Cena's dad in the audience, you know that's John Cena's dad because he's been on TV a couple times. So if he's sitting in the front row where you see him on camera all the time, that catches your eye. It's distracting. But if he's underneath the camera, you don't realize he's there for the most part. The great thing about sitting there, though, is that is where the performers work to, whether the camera's there or not. So every single time that they came out and they did their promos or whatever, they were doing it to us. Second row center. I was right there. It was great. I was wearing my Charlotte shirt because she was the one that got us the tickets. I'm a big fan of Charlotte. So when Sasha came out, she saw and she shot me the dirtiest look for wearing the Charlotte shirt. I had my El Generico mask. I wore it when Sami Zayn came out, and I got a little reaction from him. I swear I got put on the list of Jericho because he had already done his promo and he was waiting for Seth Rollins to come out, and he's holding the clipboard and everything, and he's looking around at the front rows, and he points to me, and I start protesting. No, 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 no. And he writes something down and moves on. It was fantastic, but I missed the actual match because I got pulled backstage. Some PA or something came out and grabbed the three of us and took us backstage, and I got to meet Charlotte back there, and it was amazing. Now, it was mostly her talking to her friend because with Charlotte working on the road basically the entire year, they don't get to see each other as often. So this was 95% them catching up. I was just there, but at the end, she took a picture. All three of us ended up on her Instagram with her. It was great. Got to meet her. She's the sweetest person. So kind, so just so accommodating to this jackass she had never met. She knew her cousin. She knew her cousin's husband. She had never met me, and she was so sweet. And it was so cool being back there, getting to see the wrestlers. I didn't get to talk to anybody else, but just seeing them back there, it was cool. The matches were amazing. Kevin Owens versus Roman Reigns in the main event for Roman Reigns at the time United States Championship. Roman Reigns' mother was in the front row, about 2 or 3 seats over. So when Kevin got in the Chinlock City spot he does, where he just holds that for, I think the Frey movement on Twitter timed it. It was over 2 minutes. He didn't like it up in the cheap seats where he was, but down where I was, I could hear the whole time Kevin Owens taunting Roman Reigns' mother, saying things like, "Do you want to adopt me so you'll actually have a successful son?" And when she flicked him off, taunting her that that was going to get Roman Reigns fined. Now there was so much jawing, and Roman Reigns, every now and then you'll hear him on camera talking back to somebody, or a lot of times it's fan cam stuff where he's jawing to somebody. He's funny, and you don't get to hear that unless you're really close. I was so lucky for it. It was such a great experience. I was so happy. Thank you for listening to me rant about gay gimmicks and the fun that I had on a house show, because I was so very lucky. Check out the UK tournament this weekend. Let me know what you thought about the shows this past weekend, Raw and SmackDown, Impact. Let me know what you thought, NXT as well. I'm going to be tossing up the videos. You know the deal. Got the video here, video here. Here's my happy face. Going to try something here, blocking me out now with the Twitter. You can catch my Twitter there. Please hit like if you liked it. Comment whatever you want to say. I can take it. I love you. As always, cheers.